have a differentiation of what they believe in contrast to, like, the accepted party platform and ideology. And there's those on the right too. I'm not just trying to say that exists on the left, but that's the only demographic of person that I've ever come across that has actually been like, yeah, I'd vote for Hillary. Fuck yeah, she'd be great. Most people are like, yeah, right. We had her for 8 years. that's the more common sentiment towards Hillary. So how do you lean left if you're a Trump supporter? Just based on the things that I believe. I believe in a social safety net. I believe in freedom of speech, which used to be a liberal position. I believe in freedom of expression, which I guess that's still a liberal position, even though they kind of went crazy with it. I guess I'd be more considered kind of like a throwback liberal. I'm not really one of these, identity politics activists, the patriarchy, white supremacy, and, I don't buy into the sociology of a lot of this shit. I think it's just manipulative. But my personal views on things. And now this is an interesting point, and perhaps you can understand what I'm talking about here as well. Intimately, maybe this is something that you've seen too. If I was in charge, I would run things a particular way, but at the same time, I wouldn't trust somebody else with that level of power, because I know that I'm good, but I don't know that they are, right? So it's like a weird thing, right? So like, take Mamdani, right, in New York. I don't know how much you know about this. He has a reputation as being communist, but he has this idea about state-run grocery stores. That's a neoliberal solution, okay? That is basically, I'm an ideas over ideology guy, okay? Like, there are some things that are hardline to me because I see these as immutable truths. And there are some things that I'm not super strict on because I can see the benefit either way. And so I'd be more willing to kind of compromise or give somebody a little bit more leeway on that issue because it doesn't cross a hard line that I would feel like offends my personal integrity. I would say that too, but not sure how I'd act if some lobbyist offered me $100K to vote a certain way. Yeah, that's really and you're absolutely right. Absolutely. And that's, I guess I have I can't say with certainty that I would turn down $100K to vote a certain way, but I think there would be more conditions than that. I think I would turn down any amount of money to vote a certain way if I saw that vote would be supporting something destructive or antithetical to my personhood and my personal integrity, which means a lot to me. So if it's like, hey, you don't really care if we expand food stamps a little bit, right? We'll offer you $100,000 to vote to expand food stamps, to raise the qualifying bracket for who can get food stamps. Maybe I could be persuaded on that if I could see the benefit of it. You know what I mean? Perhaps. But if they were like, hey, we're going to give you $100K and we want you to go out there and profess your love for Israel. There's no fucking amount of money anybody could give me to ever do that. Zero. And I'm pretty certain about that. Just because that would cross a hard line for my personal integrity. And if you compromise that, then what won't you compromise? And then you become unreliable. And that is, that's if you're, you know what I mean? Then now how can we rely on you to do the good that you were purported to do if you're unreliable or compromising your integrity for personal gain? Like, I voted for Trump, but I understand that he's imperfect. I don't see Trump as the great uniter. I think his character's been too thoroughly assassinated in the media. The next person could be, but it won't be Trump. And so when people say, well, you're so big on personal integrity, but you voted for Trump, you had two choices. I picked the best of the two choices. Kamala was having fucking concerts with booty shaking, and Trump put together a team of fucking highly competent people. It was clear to me who was taking the election more seriously. Outside of the fact that I just saw Kamala inheriting Biden's candidacy without a primary as being, one, un-American, and two, my baseball analogy earlier, that's just throwing. That's just putting a placeholder in there because you got nobody and you don't want to take one of your potential high-powered names of the future and have them take an L before they're ready to be on that stage. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a tough thing. I know that I wouldn't compromise my hard lines, but I don't know that the things I would compromise, whether or not they would be hard lines to other people. So that's a difficult situation. I appreciate your honesty about it. I have to agree with you that there are certain things that I couldn't say for sure that I wouldn't be open to compromising and negotiating on. Like I said, ideas over ideology. But there are some things, I mean, you could offer me, all the fucking gold and, whatever. I would express support for Israel in general for some cash, but not for their war in Iran. Well, I see Israel as a generally negative influence on American foreign policy. Maybe there's information I'm not privy to, but I'm pretty sure Epstein was an intel asset for Israel. And if they're okay with the things that he was part of, then I don't fuck with that country. You know what I mean? Until they get new leaders. And their leader's been Netanyahu pretty much my whole life. Nutty Yahoo in charge over there. Nothing against the people of the country. Like, I don't have anything against the people of Iran or, you know what I mean? I'm generally... That's what I mean when I say I lean left. I don't want to say, I'm a bleeding heart, so I'm left wing, but I have positions that are a little bit left of center. But also, like, for instance, I can't, if let's say the next election comes around and we get a Democratic candidate who says, I'm going to do universal health care. Do I support universal health care? I think that that's an option that should be explored because I think private insurance is the thing that drives the cost up. But I don't know that I would vote for somebody for that because I don't fucking believe them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't believe you when you say that. I just don't believe that. I think you're just lying to me. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a left-wing position I hold, but it's also not something that is going to sucker me into voting for somebody or compel me to vote for somebody. I have left-wing views, but those issues like gay marriage, abortion, healthcare are already settled in America. Yeah, right. I don't let the gays do what they want. I don't care about adult trans people. Go enjoy yourself. That's freedom. I don't think that we should be introducing these things to children just the same way that I don't think we should be introducing religion to children. Because it's too sensitive a subject for me to trust teachers that I don't know personally or know their values to be able to handle adequately. I would prefer to handle that on my own as the parent. I think that responsibility falls on the parents. But I don't give a fuck about. Go be trans if you want. You're an American adult. Go do what you want to do. Same thing with abortion. Look, you know what I mean? Go ahead, go for it. You know what I mean? If that's what you want to do. That's, healthcare is a tough one in America because there's a lot of opposition to universal healthcare. There's a lot of opposition. And the reason is because the things that the government does run, they suck. The post office sucks. The DMV sucks. You ever have to call the government for anything? You're going to be waiting because they suck. trans for me is something different because they're trying to impose their views and speech laws on people. And this is and that's that I listen. Okay, so let's take that right there. That's trans for me is different because they're trying to impose their views and speech laws on people. The Democrats are using them as a political prop to do that. You know what I mean? I think before the Democrats introduced that part of identity politics into the Overton window, I think the people who were living a life as a trans American just wanted to be low key and be left alone. I don't think that those people wanted to impose their views on speech and codify protections against speech against them. You know what I mean? There wasn't some massive trans agenda for that until the Democrats introduced it into the Overton window. You know what I mean? So I blame the Democrats for trying to impose those views. I don't necessarily blame trans people. I don't even necessarily believe all trans people. Like, a lot of them are just getting in on a trend. No offense. That's a natural thing, you know, but you don't go from less than 1% of the population to like 5, 6, 7% just because people said it's okay now. I don't buy that, you know, but I'm with you as well. I don't like that imposition. You don't get to force me into what I have to say. You know what I mean? Now, to have some tact, I'm not going to be saying crazy shit about them anyway. Like, you're not going to, you know what I mean? Like, the imposition of trans views on the population at large is the Democrats doing. I find them guilty for that. Not necessarily the trans people, the Democratic Party. But I agree with you. I don't lump them in with all the rest of the letters, the L's and the G's and the B's. I you know what I mean? Trans is different than that. And that's fine. And if you want to be trans as an adult American, hey, go for it, bro. You ever see what's his name? Maniscalco, the comedian? He's like, you want to dress up like a baby? You can find people online dressing up like a baby. Hey, freedom is freedom. Give me 1 second. I got to disappear for 30 seconds. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Whoo, doggy. Sorry, my daughter just got home and she is in a